Zoning Commission meeting will now come to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of November 16, 2023 minutes. Have everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes?
So, Madam Chairman, I would like to make a recommendation that we postpone the approval of the minutes for November 16th. The pending research to see what happened, what action was taken on the particular article that is in question that we were going to speak about today.
Okay. So it has been requested that we postpone the approval of the November 16, 2023 meeting minutes until further review of the meeting.
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
We need a second. We need a second.
I'll second. Ask the motion and second that we postpone the meeting, November 16th meeting minutes until further review. All in favor? Aye. Or did you need us to do an individual vote, Karen?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
No, it's fine. I do have the email that I did send to Lupita. And this was on the 7th. I said planning and zoning articles that have been reviewed. Is 6, 7, 4, 5, 1, 3, 3B, 3C, 8, 9, 10, and 3 again. So,
Well, in all respect, we really need to go back to the recording of the meeting,
yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll go back and listen to it.
but thanks for that, we're okay.
But are there any other articles that are left to be?
There was
reviewed?
Article 2, but it was for the commission. It had nothing really to do with you guys because it was just a review of the terms for their seats.
Right, so I don't know, I mean, if there's nothing that we have to review, and we review everything, I don't see why we can't approve the minutes if there's nothing left.
Well, the minutes were already tabled, so we'll go ahead and table them. I'll go back and I'll listen to them while I'm on vacation
And we're not confident that it was Article 2. So that's what we're going to research.
Okay, at this time, we will move on to the next item.
Right.
Okay. Item of business, public comments. Okay, well, we will continue with new business, to review the master plan review.
There was a question over there.
I'm
I
sorry.
just have a question.
You pull your mic out, just for the recording.
I just have some questions to clarify this master plan. Now, so far, I understand that this is something that the city has every 7 years, is that correct?
Well, the redevelopment plan, which is a portion of this, you need to update your plan every 5 to 7 years.
And now, does every city do that?
Yes, well, every city is supposed to do this.
And by doing this, what?
It's just written in the statute because things change, commissions change, you know, the decision makers change, the circumstances change, so it's good to look back at it again and go, is this still the direction we really want to go as a community? We didn't know this big project next door was gonna go in, or we didn't know, many things can happen, and you look at it and go, well, yeah, pretty good. Like the ones we're looking at now, we have a few projects that are probably not gonna reappear on the master plan, the moon-shaped dock on the lake. There is an emphasis on that Crescent Lake node. But so ours will be more little tweaks. but actually solidifying a vision for the north and south CRAs, which have no vision or really a plan at this point, since they were adopted. So this is common. Some cities, when I went to the city of Maitland, I helped them update a 20-year-old master plan. And what they found is as it came out of the ground, it was a lot bigger than they thought. They didn't like the size of everything that was in the vision. Looked good on paper. When they started to build it, there was a lot of pushback. So we revisited. And also that plan was really dependent on one developer to build a town center right in the middle, big project. And when that fell apart, then nothing happened. And then the recession hit them, and so things really changed.
So it's just an ongoing.
It's a good practice. And the rules change also as we go along, as we found, in 2019, some of the rules of what we can spend CRA money on changed. So many redevelopment plans have expenditures, for special events as an example. Now they've commissioned, the legislature decided we can't spend money, ongoingly for special events, those kind of things. Marketing, just general marketing.
Okay.
So as you recall, you saw the early presentation, which was most of the phase one was the data collected, and then we went over, they identified 6 opportunity areas or areas of potential intervention we could really focus in on and figure out what we want that to look like in the future. So what I'm coming back to you today is I call it a preliminary draft because we just added more details and drawings for those 6 opportunity areas to really continue to get a sense of, is this still, have they captured it the way we want to go, so that then the next phase would be very detailed, artist renderings and the whole bit. So this isn't a draft of the whole plan. This is focusing on the 6 areas. This is available on the website. I think you were sent digital copies, and there's also a survey. You can go on the website, and there's a SurveyMonkey link. And they can you can provide input there, written comments on these opportunity areas. I presented this a number of times now. I know that I presented Historical Society and the Library Board and the Women's Club together, and a couple folks got way ahead of us about the plan doesn't have this, that, and the other. Well, this isn't the whole plan. This is looking at, are these opportunities, these focus areas, is it illustrating a vision that we agree with? Yes, that's the direction we want the community to go. So on the website and in the copy you have, there's a lot of the usual background material, so I won't go through that tonight. All of the plan purpose and the process. This is there's the QR code as well as a link you can go to take the survey and provide your written comments. But this is the stuff that Benoit showed you last time, kind of the steps we went through and the rationale, the principles and so forth. So it does focus in, this is the same slide you saw before, talking about the 6 areas we identified that we're going to focus in on, which I'll show you tonight, and then the framework. And just keep zooming in and begin to kind of pick it apart, the Central Avenue and the corridor, and look at what's there. All this is on the website for you. What I want to do is focus in, before the first opportunity area, we talk about streets. So A represents Central Avenue. This is a cross section. It's what we have now. We have 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction. The bikes share the road. There's on-street parking. There's a tree space, and then the sidewalk. Pedestrians are here. So this is what we have, and that's what they're recommending for Central Avenue. Now this is Summit. This is the corresponding map. So A is Central Avenue. B is Summit for the 5 blocks that are really the core of downtown on Summit. It's 5 blocks on each side, makes a 10-block area. Where they're recommending we go back to 1 lane in each direction, shared with bikes, and then the trees. The median still with a turn lane, and then wider sidewalks for pedestrians. Again, this is a DOT decision. This we can ask them for it, we can advocate for it, but at the end of the day, they'll say yes or no. And then the areas outside of that, just C, north of, I think this is Eucalyptus, and south of Eva Lyon Park, would still be 1 lane with a bike lane, the tree area and pedestrian area. And then what they're showing is that private property adjacent would have a landscape buffer, rather than what you see like at the Parker House parking lot. Those cars pull up, if they roll over the bumper, they'd be right on the sidewalk. You know, there's no buffer. So that's just showing another cross section. We are gonna meet with DOT and next month and kind of see the react. We know the initial react, when I first moved here, they had made a request to restore the on-street parking, and first it was a yes, maybe, and though I followed up and they said, no, absolutely not. Don't know who told you yes, but that's a no. So this will be their decision. This is our decision, and this is the way it is now, for the streetscape configuration of traffic. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, with DOT. So we'll start with opportunity area number 1, which is Central Avenue. Main Street's always in there because it's not our main street called Main. It's just the concept of the High Street or the Central Business District. So this, we talked about the design brief being infill, mixed use, interim uses. So those big vacant spaces we have, looking at pop-up uses that might work in the food truck courts, those kind of things which could go away when the land develops. Again, parking facilities, pedestrian priority, and then I'll show you some parklets and plazas and so forth. And then Lake Stella and Crescent Lake, they looked at those 2 nodes. So this is a map, and I think it's a little bit soft. Yeah.
No, I can see it fine, but I can say that Granite seat is the worst seat in the house. And that's why I'm sitting up here, because I couldn't see any.
If you want to move over here, you can take this seat. It's a little- You probably have that speaker in your
I think
way.
it's the angle. It's the angle you're looking at.
It would also help with use lights.
Oh, I can do that.
No, so here.
No difference.
Well, I learned the difference, but not, I mean, I can't read it.
So this is a computer generated rendering, so they can change this. And the purpose of this, I'll mention throughout things I'm gonna ask them to change, and that's what we're looking for is, so what this shows is the existing map underneath is sort of faded. So the existing buildings are there. I'd like them to somehow make them a little more prominent. So these gray buildings recommend new structures. So this is one of 2 configurations for the school property they show. This one's a little looser. There's some plaza space outside, parking in the back,
So where is the current school building?
down here.
So it's not on this map?
Yeah, so Cypress is right about here, I think. It's not on this map, it's on the other map. So this may or may not be structured parking back here. This shows what we call Market Square, shows Urban Park. This was an attempt to save all these oak trees, these giant oak trees that are in here. So an urban park back here, potential commercial building on the highway frontage. And then in this case, building out the frontage, except the corner as an urban plaza, urban space, could be where the farmer's market remains. A lot of people like that exposure. We may find when a developer comes forward, he says, hey, I have a tenant that wants that corner, can I put the park over here? So we might have that kind of negotiation. Someone were to purchase this property from us. And this shows some infill. So this is the former used car lot across the street, still there, but infilling some of that asphalt. One of the terms we use in downtown planning is the street wall. So the wall that all the building frontages create. The more solid you can get that street wall, the better. So that's what we're attempting here is to fill that in, because people like to walk and if people don't like gaps. If there's a break in the wall, they tend to turn around and go back to their car. So this shows infill there on the empty lot across from Ace. Some infill here next to the old, I guess that was a furniture store. And then in this scenario, this is no longer City Hall. The buildings are here, but these parking lots could then be infilled again to create, because this is part of that downtown core, even on 17, create more street frontage, street wall. And then you'll see that this plaza could be turned into a pedestrian space that they feed out onto as a kind of a cool space. And could be designed where it could be cars in the daytime and people only at night and that sort of thing. So again, another infill. So we can we can move these around as we like. It does show some development, they're recommending of the pier, the space at Crescent Lake. I think this looks like a larger peninsula. It's not what's, the current plan has a big crescent moon-shaped dock or something out there. It's gigantic. And then they talk about some, down here, they don't show much here for the Stella Lake, Lake Stella changes. So this is the Central Avenue node. This is a pedestrian-oriented district. So we want to get as much retail space and frontage as we can, as well as the blocks up to Eucalyptus down to the park on 17. This shows 200 plus or minus new public-private parking spaces, an urban park. They're calling this Celebration Park at the lake. That's where we see our fireworks. And then some proposed buildings. And there's some condominiums in here. You'll see them throughout, whether it be condos or townhomes or apartments, but residential, I think would be a better terminology for those spaces. So this is a same space, but so we were floating over the city hall, looking back across it in Market Square. This shows that new development fronting the sidewalk with upper story residential, an urban park space on the corner, which maybe here, may end up over here. And these are existing buildings, Philip Randolph Gallery and so forth on the other side. And then this is that little infill to show how this very suburban style building is set back from the road. You could infill some of that asphalt and actually create a more downtown feel. So we would make sure, for instance, our code would allow for that. And we would encourage them with incentives, makes their property more economically viable. This shows that little bit of that alley improvement. We could turn our back alley into something cool with a entryway arch, and then make it, there could be a space over here as an addition to that. This shows a little more of the landscaping on the highway, that be a 2-lane road, 2 lanes of traffic on the highway. And then this is another type of rendering we'll get if you were looking at towards Ace. Again, this would be a different use of the old city hall, so there could be some outdoor seating, the existing Ace Hardware, a new infill building. There's the existing salon, the other existing buildings there in the distance. So it might show how Central Avenue would develop in the future. So area number 2 is Summit, is that section of the highway that is the core of downtown. Like we're saying, let's bring it back to 2 lanes of traffic, no on-street parking. Let me see if they have that in there. Yeah, you see they're not proposing on-street parking out there to preserve that turn lane. And then provide more, the idea is they provide more pedestrian space rather than even more car space. So this again is also very similar elements, some gateway features, the retail and the lane reconfiguration of the highway, public art program. So this is again that first map where we see, this is where the city hall is currently. This is Central, or Florida, I'm sorry, city hall is actually down here. So they made a mistake on this. They thought that we owned the Parker House Plaza, that whole block. So they replaced it. So that we're gonna put Parker House back. This says county office. And this is where they show they're recommending putting the city hall in the front of the fire station property, a huge parking lot there that doesn't get used at all. Put city hall there and create a civic complex here, because we own all this property back here, and we own all this property here already, and then we could sell this property. But this shows infill across from Palmera's, infilling that corner. This building could go all the way to the corner, parking in the back. Again, here, parking in the back. These are those potential residential uses, be commercial on the bottom. But this shows the highway configuration narrowed down. So it's still 17, but it's our downtown. When you get in there, you gotta slow down. So by visually narrowing people's perception that it's tighter, I need to slow down. It's just changing the signs from 35 to 30 or whatever. It has no effect on the drive. They feel like, man, I can fly through here. It's so open. So this drawing, I'm gonna have them redo it because there's nothing recognizable in here. These only work if you recognize some buildings, and then you see the new buildings. These are all new infill buildings. So we'll get a similar look like this of that rendering of what that would look like. And then this is, again, another artist's conception, shows just 2 lanes of traffic with a turn lane, wide sidewalks, a tree line, the opportunity for shade trees out there. This is conceptually, this probably looks very much like it used to look before they came through and took the on-street parking out.
Okay.
Does that look familiar? I don't recommend, all these people are crossing on a green light, so I haven't changed that to red. So 3 is the old middle school site. And this again, mixed use, marina, waterfront, we'll show you that. Repurpose the old buildings, lots of parking. And then we'll see the Sunrise Park, which is now fenced off, separate thing, integrating that more into the downtown. So this is the school property. And you can see this is a different layout we're showing here on Central, a fuller block, that street wall full. This would be a deck, 2 or 3 story deck hidden behind the buildings in there, but then reopening Cypress. And we'll show an artist rendering of that. It could be same thing, we could let cars through during the day and put up the bollards, and then it's pedestrians only during events. This parking structure would feed both the auditorium, the gym. If this were a center for the arts, a cultural arts center, a community center, commercial kitchen, all this stuff in here, it's gonna need a lot of parking. So that on-street parking is still there. And then it shows this is the piece that's currently for sale, and putting, the reason they arrange them this way instead of maximizing the view is to keep the view from Prospect all the way through to the lake. And then, so the city would still maintain the waterfront potentially, or require that there be a public path through there. Again, this is a good reminder to us that there will have to be a stormwater pond somewhere in there to catch all that runoff. So it could become a park feature, the fountain and so forth. And then what they're saying is let's open up the park, take down the fence, use this side over here. This is the current boat trailer parking, and take this part, it connects all the way to the Prospect. Again, another vista plus access to the waterfront, and incorporating it into the campus. So the fence is gone, the separation is gone, it becomes a much larger community space. And then these condos would probably be townhomes given the market. And we could even require them to put single family at the edge so it blends better with the neighborhood, and then it gets higher density as we move back towards the water. Preservation of the existing buildings, not the buildings that are here. There's some classrooms here that are newer that would allow for the development of this parcel into commercial. And then we have those same renderings, more generic now, just showing commercial with upper story residential, parking hidden behind, so you don't see it. When you go down the street, these could be some 2 and 3 story configuration. It would meet our standards for architecture, and be a nice addition to the downtown. And then this is that artist rendering of Cypress, showing those bollards. Sorry?
Do you mind going back to the overview of the waterfront in the school? Thank you. So I just want to comment that I couldn't be more delighted with the development of the waterfront. Obviously, in any community, waterfront is the magnet. It's a key benefit that people like to seek out, rather either walking, driving, or by boating. So I'd further like to comment that, of course, the old cafeteria restaurant is at that location.
The old school cafeteria?
Yes,
Kitchen,
yeah. It's an ideal for a restaurant. If you can expose the dining area to the waterfront, it's very appealing.
Isn't the kitchen on the water side though?
Well, yes, but it's not that difficult to reconfigure it. I mean, it is in the back, on the, what would be the north side, so it could be done, but the benefit of having it there, as a boater, and as a long, boater for decades, if I were on the St. John's, let's say, I really wouldn't have a purpose to come down to Crescent City, except for 3 Bananas. There just isn't much on the lake. I mean, maybe there's some fishing spots.
Yeah.
But the idea of marina, a park, and a restaurant in that area is only going to complement not only that site, but also Three Bananas and Central Ave. It's a great place to come by boat stop and walk through town to visit the shops and so forth. So I'm very pleased with that.
We might be able to put more marina here. I'm surprised they didn't draw that in.
I think that's key to the future.
Yeah.
I also picked up on your comment about proposed condos or townhouses. The idea of putting single homes along Prospect to complement the existing homes that are
I think
there.
that would be a better,
I also agree with you, but I think that would be very wise to do. Yeah. Thank you.
sure. So this is exciting. You know, this marina came about as the 2018 plan called for marina. They put it in. There are restrictions here though, no overnight mooring and so forth. So there may be some obstacles we'll run into in terms of more marina facility.
I have another question on marina. Is it doable to put in fuel?
As far as I know, and that would be very desirable.
Yeah, exactly, because I don't think there's anywhere on Crescent Lake.
The 333 fish camp is the only fuel on Crescent.
Oh, on the
Yeah.
other side?
That's right up almost to Winn-Dixie, turn right.
Oh, they have.
Yeah, they have fuel down there.
Right, yeah, thanks.
So this is, again, this is an artist rendering showing what Cypress reopened with, so the bollards could go up and we can make it a pedestrian space, or if we close down Central for a festival, currently, you know, you can't, people that live over here, they have to go through the event to get in and out, so we could reopen this to traffic. While this is all closed down, it would prevent that, help us have a safer environment here. We're not having traffic cut through to get in and out of these homes. The next area is, yes,
On the property that's for sale next to the school, we
Uh-huh.
have showing condos.
Mhm.
That's it. In other words, if somebody bought that land, they can only put condos in there.
right now they cannot put condos. It's not zoned properly. They have to come in they'll come to you for rezoning.
So if somebody does, if somebody wants to do an automobile tire outlet,
They'll have to come to you. I think it's currently institutional, or it's not zoned correctly for anything, I think, but a school or government use.
Oh.
I believe, let me look. It is, what's the future land use? Correct. Yeah, it is zoned, PF1, which I think is Public Facility 1. So it'll have to come through a rezoning. So it would likely be a PUD, which is a negotiated, I call it negotiated zoning. So the only thing they can do by right is a public facility. So they'll have to come in and ask. So we would negotiate like, hey, we want single family on the frontage. And they're like, well, if you want that, then I want more density on the back. You know, and so we work it out and we come to you with what staff works out with them. What do you think of this? And then you guys provide your comments and help shaping it until we work out a deal, a compromise to build something. But right now, by right, they can't put any residential or commercial on there.
okay. So there's gonna be a lot of rezoning in this.
Jessica, we actually had a good idea
Not
at
just that property.
last
The
presentation.
whole thing that you're showing us, there's gonna be a lot of rezoning.
Yeah. So we may do a map. I may ask them to
What
create a map.
power do we actually have in reference to the zoning? If we say, no, we don't want that type of a structure here.
Well, the zoning request, my experience with zoning is, they first come to you, we want to rezone the land to, let's say they want, high density residential. And you make them like, well, what are you gonna do? And then they say, well, we don't know yet. But we want, and then you can deny it, say, well, we want to feel better about what you're gonna do with that before we rezone it.
We can do that.
Yes.
Okay, they're not.
My understanding, unless
They're
something's
attorneys
changed.
and saying, you know, you can't deny us.
No,
Correct, that is a legislative decision, so you have discretion. You can say, I don't think it's like they come in and say, we want to do light industry because we want to put a little facility in there, that's not compatible with surrounding zoning, so that's a no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
No, he pretty much answered my question. So this master plan is what we want or suggestion of what our community could look like. And I know we've gone over, different zoning, so, as was stated earlier, this is what we would like our community to look
Yes.
like. Then there would be a lot of rezoning. So I guess my question is, if it's, for example, the proposed condos, that's what we would want to go there. So how do we advertise for that, or do they look at this?
Yeah, we'll put the master plan out there, and when we talk to people, a lot of times people call us about a piece of property, what can I do there? Am I gonna have to rezone it? We say, yeah, you'll have to do it. Now, once I have this, I'll send them, this is what we'll support. They can come in and ask for whatever they want. And when we come to you for approval, we'll say, the adopted master plan talks about a higher density residential development here. We think this fits the vision. If you all disagree, you vote it down, but we use it to say, look, we all thought we were going this way, now we've got a project, and we think it fits the vision, or we may come to you and go, this sounds like this project will create jobs, and it sounds good, but it's really not the vision. And so staff may oppose it, saying we recommend denial, because they want to put in a facility in here, assisted living center or whatever, and we don't think that's a bad project, just not right there. Because the vision said, we want people that can walk into downtown and have dinner and spend money and so forth.
I have another question.
Yes.
Has there any research been done on what to do first?
Well, we will get a recommended phase strategy, short-term goals, mid-term, and long-term goals.
Like Dan was saying about a gas pump in a marina would attract more people to the lake here. And of course, more people to utilizing the properties that are available. But is there a staging where, do this first, that will generate
There will be
people?
short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. So those things we'll be able to jump on right away. And some of it might be like, from this plan, we may say, oh, we need to buy the waterfront. So we go to the school board and they say, no, that's the incentive to buy the whole thing. You'll have to deal with the developer when somebody buys it. So then we wait, somebody buys it, and we go to them and go, let's talk about what you want to do there. We really need the waterfront. We like the water. So this will spur action for us, some immediate stuff. Some that we'll just have there as people come in, we'll say, I have people calling me about some of the larger tracks in and around the city. And I'll be able to say to them, well, this is really the vision of the community for that tract. Not only RV park, but we want nice residential there. We don't have a variety of residential product here. So that's what we see, especially you'll see in the north map. There's some more residential proposed up there. And I'll show you that lot. We've had all kinds of ideas come in about what to do with that 18 acres up there.
So essentially, Crescent City is saying we're up for sale.
No, we're saying we have a vision of our future, and if you want to come in line with our vision, we'll be happy to work with you.
That's kind of what I meant. We're up for sale, but only if the people that are buying are going to go along with what.
Yeah, and we're certain of what we want, exactly.
And where does the revenue rate come from? The people that we entice to buy?
The revenue for,
Well, building condos and building marinas.
it would come from the developer, and then we have some tools. For instance, our CRA has a tool, actually this parcel is outside the CRA, but I'll show you in the North District, there's a big parcel in the CRA, and we can promise them, so that the tax increment we get from that is, we collect the difference between the base year value. So let's say in that north property, there was just a round number, $100,000 taxable value. And then now it's $300,000 taxable value. So that increase in taxes they pay, normally 50% approximately go to us, 50% would go to the county. Instead, we capture it all and put it in the redevelopment fund. So that's we call it increment we get off that property.
Can you run that by me again? Because you're saying typically Like, when I pay my taxes for my property, 50% goes to the city, 50% goes to the
Approximately.
county.
Yeah, there's school board in there and other things.
You're saying you can do something where,
Like on your property, let's say you paid $1,000 for property taxes in I think we started this in 98. I think you're outside the CRA, but if you were in the CRA, paid $1,000. About 500 goes to the county and 500 goes to the city, just for simplicity. So let's say now you pay $1,500. The county still gets their 500, our general fund still gets their 500. That new 500 goes into the CRA fund. There's a split with the county and city. We get it all into the CRA. And then we can only spend it in the CRA to make improvements. So what we can do is, he said, look, I'm gonna do a project on my property, and it's gonna raise it up, where I'm paying $3,000 a year in taxes. We can promise you that back every year for like 10 years, 8 years, 5 years, and we can rebate that increment that would go into our redevelopment fund. We can't touch what goes to the county and the general fund. But that new money that came in, then you're gonna add even more, you're gonna have $1,500 more a year in value. We can say, we'll give you that back for the next 10 years to help you cash flow because these bigger projects, it'll be bigger numbers than that. We'll be giving that 10,000 a year, 15, 20,000 a year or more, depending on the jump when it spikes in value. We capture all that revenue. We can promise it back for a time. We don't have any cash up front to give you, or very little. But we could promise you over 10 years a rebate that will go down until finally in year 11, you don't get any more rebate as an incentive to developers. And developers that have worked in CRAs are familiar with that. Doesn't help them up front, but it helps them over the long term. So that's one thing we can offer them. We can do little things up front. We can offer small grants up front for smaller projects, but and then we can, help them with the rezoning, that process. If they're willing to do what we want, we do what we can to facilitate the development.
okay, and also you mentioned that you're getting calls from developers regarding property. What do these developers have in vision to build? What are they interested in?
Mostly RV parks. I did get one for a camp retreat I think it was for deaf pastors.
I don't know if they need
I agree.
And I share that with them. I don't know there's an appetite for, I can't tell them you can't come here. You can try, but it's a roll of the dice. You're gonna have to rezone that property, and that's a legislative decision.
So I felt like this RV park, what's it called, Drunken Hollow or something?
Moonshine Land.
Moonshine Lane. That was kind of ran down our throats. I don't think everybody agreed to that.
Well, the majority did, or willing to move forward. So let me continue on.
I just moved here, so I'm not sure.
So area 4 is the Lake Stella. So the CRA does go down to Lake Stella for several blocks heading north from Central. And there they really talk about nothing really with the park, but improving the residential and the density across the street from the park. So there's a lot of empty lots. Actually, they replaced Elizabeth's house there. These are empty lots, and they just show a higher density, like a townhome product there to enjoy those views of the lake. They do talk about on-street bike lanes, a new sidewalk on the east side, and then they say condominiums again, probably not be condos. But basically the idea is increase residential, enjoying the views, and then parking would be associated with those residential. So this map doesn't help as much because there's nothing recognizable in the buildings. I'll get them to redo this one.
Excuse me, Charles, can
Yes.
you go back to the previous? Thank you. So I agree with the assessment that that's prime residential area. And the beauty of the park, the lake, the whole setting, the sunset is outstanding. But I think a better use is single family than multifamily. I think along Rio Grande, now if you go east, then I think behind what I believe should be single family,
Yes. it's all
I
single.
think that's the place that you should consider townhouses or multifamily.
Okay, this is currently all single family, and then this is mostly vacant, actually, the spots they've identified here.
Correct, but it's, again, it's a prime site.
Yeah.
It's a prime site for high-value, single-family homes. And it's a stunning site as well. I think that most multifamily dwellers are used to being close, but not right on.
Right on. And some of these, I actually spoken to the owner, they're gonna build a home once they retire, is their goal. So they're leaving it vacant now, and so the reality may be they come build their home and that's it. But this will allow for it, if the finished product has this, should someone come in and go, instead of a single home, I'm gonna do 2 townhouses on the same lot, it would be in line with the vision. If we change it to single family, well, that's really not what we see there. We'd rather you build a single family home, so your rezoning is not likely to be approved. Again, they would come to you for a rezoning to allow for the higher density.
And you're talking about that street.
No, I'm talking about here, if the commission
Correct. Well,
feels like, okay, that's okay, yeah, let's leave it in there, that directs staff and people come in and go, I wanna build a couple townhomes.
so what is that?
This is Grand Rondo,
Okay, great.
this is the waterfront.
Yeah, so that's why I believe it should be single, and then what's the one behind it?
This is Cedar.
Cedar. Cedar is the one that I think, where multifamily should be. And you're right, somebody may own the property and not want to sell.
Yeah.
However, with the redevelopment plan, the price of the property may be such that the current property owner may want to sell and build, elsewhere in town, which is often the case.
Okay.
Um,
Let me show you.
So Charles, real quick, what you're saying there is if you approve the master plan with the townhomes in it, it's already zoned single family residential. So if they want to come in by right, they can come in and build a single family home there.
Correct. They'll have to ask for rezoning to build anything else.
Right, exactly. So if you leave it townhomes, the single family homes can still happen.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. We would just say the plan is, if
If
they
you
want
make
to
it
change it,
single
we would
family
come to
homes,
you.
then you'd have to rezone it for
Correct.
townhomes.
If somebody wanted a town.
If they did, yeah, we wouldn't go in and rezone anything.
However, in planning a community, it's often wise to put your finest product
Right.
at the best location instead of multifamily. So the city, in its wisdom and planning for that, I think is the best course.
Well, and just, when you say multifamily in this industry, it means apartments. So if you mean.
Well, I mean,
Higher density
townhouses.
residential towns, yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. So what I'll probably do, issues like that, and there's some others, I'm gonna get the commission, before we finalize in this drawings, like a show of hands, we're gonna get a motion and approve which way do you wanna go, so we can settle it. Cause then that gives staff some feeling, if someone comes in and says, what would you think about a couple townhomes there? We can say it's in line with the vision, or we could say it's really not, the commission decided we wanna keep that all single family through there, so you're not gonna have much luck with that request. They can still make the request, but we could.
yes, and I think that's my point, because somebody may come in and want to build a very exclusive, high-end townhouse, which probably would encourage everyone.
Yeah. So this is an illustration of the bike lanes, a little bit improved street, and the new sidewalk on the east side. In addition to the existing, again, no changes to the park, this does show some more trees than we currently have in the park. So area 5, they're calling Uptown District, which is up near the Save-A-Lot and up to Winn-Dixie, and that's really, to me, suburban highway frontage area. And they're talking about, but adding some district scale residential and commercial upgrades to Fletcher Park, which I don't think are really illustrated on here, which might include playground equipment, in addition to the dog park sort of there. And then some changes to the commercial up there, which I think is very important. So this is, we're looking down on the Save-A-Lot Plaza. It's orient you, Winn-Dixie's up here. And this is a big empty parcel that I've had, everything from RV parks to, a retreat camp, there. And so this is showing residential use there. The frontage would have commercial on the bottom, the mixed use. Again, they were trying to preserve the views through there because there's quite an elevation change down the lake. Again, a reminder, there'll be a stormwater component. You always have to capture the water on the site. And then what it shows for the plaza was redevelop that with out parcels to allow and encourage out parcel development, some additions to the retail and improvements of that parking lot. It's just asphalt. This does have new ownership. I met with the management folks, and they're currently looking for a vendor to fix the park. It's like a moonscape, all the potholes there. They've pledged to fix that. But the important thing is this create this frontage with new buildings, better landscaping and architecture. I've asked them to actually kind of tilt the camera down, maybe cut off there to show this block. This is important. McDonald's owns this corner. And so those are all for sale. It's all a parcel. You know, I want them to show, and we want to show people what we want highway development to look like. We want their parking lots to connect, or there's a frontage road. We want to make sure, when I worked in Maitland, literally CVS is right next to a nice little strip. The office is upstairs and restaurants in the bottom, and you weren't allowed to drive, you couldn't drive through from one to the next. And they had signs about keep out, CVS parking only. So people would still park there, and they had created paths through the landscaping, one to the other, and it was a mess because they couldn't work together. So I've asked them to draw that block and what that kind of fast food highway development would look like, what we want it to look like in the future. You know, monument signs, landscaped, better architectural style, and so forth. Yes.
Charles, for clarification, McDonald's, that's the restaurant?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah, they bought this a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting for the demographics to trigger their thresholds.
Oh, sure.
Before they build something here. So, so we have some renderings. This shows that condo, that would probably be, again, a townhome product, be commercial on the highway frontage and residential overhead or office overhead, and then down to the lake. This would keep views, the way they design. Again, the developer will propose probably maybe something different. This shows the plaza with landscape islands, with frontage that really would hide much of it from the highway, with newer out parcel development, increases their investment and makes a better look for us. And then finally, the number 6 is at the south end. This is actually the South CRA, which is a tiny little space, very little revenue in the South CRA. But a lot of people talk to them about the need for a gas station, a big one you can get in and out of with an RV rig, or you're not jammed up like we have in our current situation. So what they're showing here is that corner lot developed. So this is the pumps behind the gas station off the highway. A building that's fronted, you can get in either side, like if you've been to a Wawa, you can go into either side of the Wawa. And that would provide some other commercial building opportunities. They're showing these are existing buildings with, parking lot improvements that we could incentivize and provide small grants for, facade treatments. Again, a stormwater piece. I'm recommending when they redraw this and move that stormwater up here, because we sent them the final site plan for the RV park. They're gonna put it in here, and it'll show the restaurant. So there could be parking over here. Those of us that don't come in an RV, we can go to that restaurant if we use a golf cart or we walk. So it'd be great if we could park over here and walk in to it's gonna be, I think, barbecue restaurant. So
Charles, it's also, you can go by, if you want, by boat.
by boat, yeah, eventually I think that won't be an initial part of the development, the dock and so forth.
But again, it complements the waterfront.
Yes, it activates it even more, yeah.
Let me ask a question while we're talking about that. The building that once was a convenience store,
Yes, right.
so is it, is there a deed restriction on that?
My understanding there is
Yeah,
no alcohol, gasoline, or tobacco, I think is
Which building are we speaking of?
the old Circle K, the former Circle K that's down there at the end.
Oh, yes, yeah, across the, where the crosswalk signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we did have a guy come in to get a BTR, said he was gonna open a store there, but that was 6 months ago.
Yeah, he came in and got PTR and,
He was pretty sure of himself that he's gonna get around those restrictions, but
yeah,
we saw him getting,
he said 1 month and he'd be open, but currently,
yeah, he
he
probably
must
found
have
this.
ran into some issues.
That's unfortunate, but that, that could be an RV and golf cart part store, or, something RV related, to complement this use here, to get it reactivated. Could be a restaurant, it would not be able to serve alcohol, but they could put a restaurant in there. So,
Yeah, very good.
again, we didn't show this part, this is a beautiful forested parcel. And this is outside the city limits, this side up here. So this is kind of showing what that looks like. The gas station, the pumps are in the back, so if you come into town, it'd be a nice facade treatment. Again, landscape, see heavier landscape buffer here. That's something we would try to heavily incentivize with money and help and so forth, to make that happen. And then this, I'm gonna redo this, they didn't show a facade here, in this computer rendering. You can see the pumps are hidden behind with much better entry in the city. And so that's the 6 areas. There'll also be a redevelopment plan update, which is kind of the technical jargon of talking about what we can spend money on. But what they want to know is you get feedback on these, so they can flush out those drawings better, make the little tweaks and changes, and Benoit will be back to present to the commission in January 11th and then take direction. So that's when I'll step in and ask them for those decision points. Because another one is about City Hall. People seem to be split on they want to move over to campus, school campus, or they want it up at the fire station. So my goal is not have something in the plan that's not, people like that. Because that's when I left Groveland, when Groveland adopted a master plan, immediately I heard the commissioner saying, well, that's never gonna happen. So I don't want that to happen here.
So where would the fire station?
It'll still be there.
Okay,
We're applying for money, from the state, let me find it here, to rebuild the station, just the station. So, and again, this kind of thing, if we put it in the master plan, let's say City Hall right there, fire station, that might be something we would ask the voters in a bond referendum. So it might be a bond to buy the school site and to build a city hall and to build a fire station. And then if the voters say no, then we're like, okay, maybe we'll update the master plan. We won't have that in there anymore.
I'd like to comment, I don't see the importance of putting City Hall on 17. I think it's very wise to put it at the old school. I think it's a great location for it, and instead of walking to many areas,
Be here.
yes, yeah, it's a wonderful old building, and it would adapt well. I also don't think it's wise to put City Hall next to a fire station, because of the activities. If you've ever been next door to a fire station, an ambulance,
Actually, Maitland, we were connected to the fire station.
yes, it's
Yeah.
very annoying and disruptive during the business day. And the second is, it's a very valuable piece of property, right on the 17 corridor. So economically, it speaks that the school is a wiser choice for many reasons. I also have another question. Has there been any thought of putting electrical overhead wires underground in any of the like on Central or anything?
I asked Benoit about illustrating that, especially like in this picture. And actually, this community, some of you may recall this, had a plan when they put in the decorative lighting, those power lines were gonna go underground. and it's so cost prohibitive, that they raise them up instead higher. And that was Benoit's, our consultant's response as well, is like, that's a very expensive project. But he said we could draw it in there if you want us to, so it'd be something we would just pursue grant money and try to do it in pieces.
So I did it 10 or 12 years ago in 2 different applications, one in private property, and commercial property, and the other, as a community government agency. And at that time, Florida Power and Light, was helping with the costs. Now, you're right, it was very expensive, but at that time, Florida Power and Light was providing additional funding to do it. And I think the reason was, the reason we did it, was this is Southeast Florida, was because of the great destruction of and frequency of hurricanes.
Yeah.
And how powerful they were getting.
Well, downtown Maitland, it was a requirement, the developer, but a $60 million project, it
Right,
wasn't that
yeah,
expensive for them.
yes, yeah. Yeah,
I have a question.
Yes.
So when the vision of putting all of, like the city hall, the fire department, all that, is that vision just to kind of have like a complex where it's all in one particular area? Is that what the vision?
Couple of things, and Benoit will speak to this when he comes back. So they feel strongly, we already own this land, and then to combine them, and said in Maitland, the city hall and fire was very convenient, didn't intrude on our work day and so forth. And the idea they have of moving, also selling off the county building, moving in here, they didn't realize we don't own this, but consolidating into probably a 2-story building here, very visible, very centrally located for the community, whereas they felt the school, a couple things, the ongoing maintenance of that building will be an issue, the schoolhouse. It would make a great arts facility, center for the arts, community, classrooms, all that. And then it's also kind of almost in the neighborhood, Prospect Street. It's very on the southern edge of will be the downtown, once we incorporate that campus of those other buildings. So they felt this was just a more prominent, centralized location that we already own, so we're not taking real estate off the market. If we don't put it there, we won't sell that. I mean, if that's the fire station, we might move the fire station up to the road or something to keep all the rest of the property.
so we're selling, relocate the fire station. Of course, this plan, of course, has a problem because the government building can't be there.
Yeah, this is gonna change.
So they would need, and I can see the convenience of having a government building next to City Hall. So they'll have to come up with a thought on
Unless we incorporate it into the city hall building.
how many stories up can you go?
We can go 3 stories.
3?
Yeah.
And what size is that lot? Is that showing, is this a demonstration of the size of the lot, or is there more to the north?
Now there's a little more, it's like an L shape.
Oh,
So the church bought this little piece here where they're selling Christmas trees.
oh, yes, yeah.
We own behind, so we probably have a stormwater pond there.
Oh, right.
We'd probably fill that whole back corner with stormwater.
How many parking spaces on the site?
Currently? Or this is probably not the scale.
Parking average, well, that's for the.
That's just
site.
general, yeah.
Yeah. So they haven't identified. how many-
Yeah, they haven't laid it out to scale or anything like
Yeah,
that.
so they have more work to do in that concept then.
Yeah.
What
And
are
again,
they
this will be a
doing?
decision point. I'll get the commission to vote on it. And if they say no, I want the commission to settle the issue and we'll move forward.
Yeah. The city owns behind.
We own back here, yeah.
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 But I'm talking about behind Park House, the city owns that?
Yes.
That parking lot.
We own all of this lot. There's a strip in here we don't own, and then we have the Masonic Lodge is right here. It's that little white.
So who owns that strip in there?
It's the Peacock Furniture, I think.
Oh, okay, so they own that.
Yeah, it's for sale.
So this vision is, we do not own the county office space.
We own, the buildings are right about here. I think it's hard to see them. It might be, It's hard to tell. We own the buildings, right? We own where the county is in Gullet Title. Gullet Title's moving out of there, likely to have the sheriff's office in there. So this will change. This will go away. We'll put the existing building back. Unless we want to show, maybe say, let's show a new building here. He redevelops his property into a, better use and puts the parking behind.
I know when they do this plan, they will be able to, when they do it to scale, actually do it on a computer and do it to scale, and they'll present it again, do they have the capability to show parking as a separate thing for the commission to look at? Because parking's an issue. It's always going to be an issue. And it's great to have all these buildings and put this stuff here and change the street and do whatever is going to be done there. But parking needs to be addressed, I think, for whatever they do. Parking needs to be planned as much as anything else.
And that's in here. That's why they always show the proposed. For instance, what they can show you is they'll show us that a structure of these dimensions typically has X number of spaces. So if it's 2-story, it's this many spaces. If it's 3 decks, it's this many spaces. They can actually go out and count and tell you what's in the right of way here, but.
So you think it needs to be a building? I mean, is that what this is showing?
Yes, they're showing us we need to stack it.
And who's going to pay to build that building?
Well, the developer came in, we would work with them. We might promise them that future TIF as an incentive. Pay the increment, the value. You say, as a result, we also want that open for public parking as a public-private partnership.
Because there's a lot of people that will not go into a parking lot.
Yeah. There's still lots of surface parking. Now, a situation like this, they would just tell us what our own code says. If you have 10 units here, your code requires X number of parking spaces.
But they'll show that on the plan.
It might be in the narrative, yeah. It'll just show a picture like this. But when the developer comes in and goes, I want 100 units in there, we're like, well, you couldn't fit the parking on there over 100 units. Well, I want a waiver on my parking. Well, we're not gonna give you a waiver. It becomes a negotiation.
So Charles, this is the old middle school site,
Yes.
of course, and they had proposed buildings and square footage, and they had proposed parking. So, I'm assuming that the proposed parking is for the site, for this plan, in relation to the total square footage of building space.
Yeah, that's what their calculation would be. Say, based on what we're proposing here and these buildings, we recommend a 3-story deck to meet that.
Well, not just that, but the proposed parking is 450 parking garage spaces, 70 on-street parking spaces, 218 off parking spaces, and 20 trailer parking spaces. So that's for this parcel. In
Yes,
relation
but
to
for
the
this
numbers-
illustration that you see here, yeah.
Yeah, in relation to the proposed buildings.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. My other question, are the consultants coming back to this commission again?
No, not the planning and zoning.
Okay.
They'll come back, they'll show this same thing to the city commission in January. And the intention is to get their final marching orders. And then in March, they'll come back with the final draft to the commission.
And so that will be our opportunities as individuals to add further
Yes.
comment. Thank you.
For the,
They're gonna make this, I don't know, changes or corrections before they bring it to the city council then?
No, in January, they're gonna see this, what you're seeing now. Benoit will give the
Without
presentation.
correction.
Correct.
But
I'll pass along all the feedback I've been getting, all these presentations. And they'll-
you'll also note our comments and pass those on.
Yes.
Thank you.
and for the old middle school site, these are the parts of the building that is not historic, or,
These are the, well, these three are the auditorium, the gymnasium, and the original building are the historical. These are newer, this cafeteria and the media center. These are newer. These three are the ones with value. I think only these two are in the historic district. And I think all of them, I think the CRA cuts off right there. So this parcel is not in the, it might be in the South CRA, I have to double check actually. So again, you can go online and look at this more carefully. You can type in your comments in the survey that's there. I'm gonna gather all that. I'll use that, Benoit has access to all that input. I'm gonna summarize the comments we've had. Got a great comment today about creating a map showing where zoning would need to change in order to implement the vision. I'll provide that to him ahead of time, and also the decision points I want to get out of the commission, like that Grand Rondo density, the city hall location, some other things, so we can move forward with knowing at least with the majority. So we don't adopt something that we know they're gonna vote against later. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, yes.
On changing the 4 lanes to 2 lanes, has DOT done any research on creating a bottleneck? I mean, we get a lot of traffic up and down there.
They have not, and someone said, told me, don't be negative. I'm not being negative. My professional opinion is we're never gonna get that approved. Doesn't mean we can't ask, nothing wrong with asking. We're gonna go meet with the district next month. Their concern is getting people through the city. And since we don't have a bypass, that's a problem here. Many communities where they've done road diets are a very called road diet, very common thing to narrow down the downtown and make some beautiful changes. And I bet you'll find there's a bypass in those communities. If we don't have one, if we have a conversation about a bypass, then we need to talk about limiting the curb cuts on the bypass so all the development doesn't go out there. And then we gotta look at how do we get people up from out there back into the downtown, because now they're going around instead of going through and seeing what we have. So I don't think in our lifetimes, we would see that, especially as they're 4-laning all the way to Volusia
Yeah,
County.
that's what was, I was gonna say, that 4 lane.
I appreciate those thoughts, however, the new thought is that since the new highway system was put in place by the Eisenhower administration, it's been proven that one of the bad effects is that it split communities.
Yeah.
And it did a horrible job of doing that. Where there was unity, in neighborhoods, it divided it. And certainly from this town, when 17 was beautifully lined with oaks, with a canopy over the street. That division is separate today. And as we move forward, it would be a wonderful thing to try to reunite it. Slowing down the traffic to 2 lanes in a very short distance is, to me, a very wise thing. Number one, safety. Because if it's 4 lanes, you're gonna have to put in multiple traffic lights. So it's gonna slow down anyways. Because otherwise, how do you cross 17? Except on Central.
Yeah.
The other thing is that's most important for commerce. It allows the passenger to take a look at the beauty that we're creating and the charm that the city has, because it's here and it's going to be further enhanced. So I think with all those new thought patterns that there may be a better opportunity for it to happen, and I hope so. If it doesn't, which is tough to make too, but.
Something we've not talked about, and I asked Benoit, he's out of the country right now for the holidays, but when they get back, the team to look at, I don't think I have a map of it, where the blinking light is, I know right before I arrived, we don't have a map, they asked for a traffic light there, and DOT said, no, there isn't the traffic for it, or the number of wrecks, necessary to warrant a traffic light. But I thought about a roundabout there, a large roundabout where you never have to stop, nobody has to stop. It swirls, and I've seen them more and more DOTs putting them in, and eliminates the need, eliminates the collision points, the opportunity. And we have a weird thing there with the Ferns Road and then people turning into the convenience store.
Yeah.
It is,
So it's
Yeah.
a dangerous, but I don't know if they might be more up to a roundabout than a traffic light.
Probably the roundabouts are that, unless the community is used to many of them,
They still stop,
most people don't know how to use them.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
They still stop.
So they fail. And they also take up a much larger land area.
Yeah. It's a big spot right there, if you look at it, it's where the 4 lane starts.
Yes, yeah.
And I also was told that, one of our previous mayors, that if they had our commissioner, not mayor, would have just thrown a fit about putting the traffic light there, traffic light could have been there. And that's coming from our commissioner as well, why that traffic light, and I was told that by DOT.
The commissioner had thrown it in. Usually it's data driven.
No, I'm just saying, back then, like when Nancy Harris was our commissioner, I was told by DOT that if, that was a call from that, when it was the discussion about putting this, medium in there, and the people didn't want it. And I remember walking out, same time the guys that did the presentation, and they were like, the reason y'all won't have that light down there is because of y'all commissioner. And she will open up her mouth, they will put that. Of course, every time they gonna tell her no, we gonna tell her no. I mean, what they had going on in there, but if she will open her mouth and put her foot down, they will put that light there. She's the reason why y'all don't have that light.
Her specifically? You have that
Yes,
much power?
saying that because our commissioner is not making an issue of it. And I don't know why this gentleman shared this with me walking out there. I don't know why. I just have to get up and leave the same time that, no, and he said, that's why, because I was we were speaking about having a light there. And I just got up and was leaving, and they were walking out, and this guy opened up his mouth, and he shared this, he just said, that's the reason why y'all don't have that light there. That light can be put there, I don't care, he said, no matter what the data says, that light can be put there.
How long ago was this?
It's been over 10 years ago,
Yeah.
over 15, yeah.
Do you know when they took the flashing light out south of town, why they took it out? Because when you're coming north, you're halfway through this town before you realize you're in a town that you need, you're kind of already here and you need to slow down. But if that flashing light that used to be there was still there, it slowed you down. You knew you were.
The pedestrian one?
It was a flashing
But
light.
didn't anybody
Somebody hit
complain that the light was down?
Was it over the road, you mean?
No, coming into town,
It was where the
the other
Circle
store
K
was.
thing was down south of town.
I don't think no one complained that the light, somebody hit it. I don't think no one never complained that the light was,
Well, I think, are you talking about a blinking light similar to the one that's.
It was a blinking, wasn't, you all looked at
when you
it.
first come in up the hill,
Hanging over the intersection?
It was down at.
It was it's a
Grand
flashing
Junction,
light,
or
yes.
whatever.
it's on the pole. It's laying down there, if nobody hasn't
That is
moved it.
the pedestrian blinky light that when you push the button,
Right.
it flashes.
Right,
That's
right.
new, that was just put in,
This
3 or 4
was
years
a
ago.
real blinking light.
She's talking about something
Oh,
different.
it's in the middle.
That's
Oh,
yeah,
it's just south of Junction.
yeah,
Oh,
it was
down
on
there.
in the intersection, just for traffic, it was.
It was just kind of like an arbitrary flashing warning kind of light.
But it's saved, I mean, there's been wrecks there.
I'd like to
where
sign
people-
it, it says slow down or something. So-
Yes, I know, but yes.
Yeah, because I remember that's what it.
I was very surprised when they removed that.
I think that happened when they did some of the widening.
But when I first moved here, that
Hey,
was
Charles,
like.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yes.
What's the latest on the property over there, 515 Parsons Street? Is that condemned building and
The
something?
little young couple bought it.
Are they actually gonna do something with it, or?
Yeah, my understanding, someone started working on it without a permit.
Yes.
Well, I know they repaired the roof that was letting in a lot of water into the house.
I think, was he gonna flip that?
I think he was flipping it, but the people, I got a notice today on just exactly this afternoon, probably about 10 minutes to 5, asking for, the code lien, violations on it. So I sent it off to Pam, but Pam won't be here till Tuesday, so it's still,
It has a new owner, but there's still a lien that needs to be.
it's still a lien that needs to be cleared up before he can sell it.
It's a young couple that purchased it, is my understanding.
No,
They're the
they,
ones that want to.
they wanted to buy it, but they had a lien on it.
Oh, they couldn't buy
They
it.
couldn't buy it. They're
Oh,
still
so
waiting.
that's why it's still listed.
Yeah,
For sale, okay.
they gotta clear up that lien.
They were very excited and all set, and then they hit a wall. So still in process.
Well, now I'm really confused. So a young couple was going to buy that.
Correct, but there's still a lien,
And
so
there
they
was a
can't.
lien because of some zoning, code
Code action.
violation. I'm sure that place is full of code violations. But once they clear up the code violation, are they gonna be again buy it?
They can, whoever wants to
They're
buy it,
still
they
open,
have the
yeah.
option to buy it once the lien is taken care
So it's a pending sale.
of. It's a
Yeah.
pending.
He needs to bring it into compliance. He started doing that without
And are
permit.
these people gonna flip it, or are they gonna, what are they gonna?
I think they were gonna flip it, but they were gonna bring it back to
Yeah, we're
how
gonna,
it was.
so we're waiting for it to come into compliance, for the lien to be addressed.
That's a labor of love.
Yeah, that's what they want.
That's all we have.
Okay.
Well done, Charles, thank you.
Okay, I have one more question. What's the latest on, our trailer park?
What trailer park?
Moonshine.
Oh, the RV resort. Last I heard, they were in permitting with St. John's Water Management District. I don't know the status of that.
That's been going on now for 4 or 5 months.
Yes. I know with us, whenever we had to have them change something, it took months for their engineering firm to make the change. So, I think it's more of a paperwork thing with St. John's. I need to reach out to them and see what's the status. We thought they would be moving, dirt by now. Nothing's happened out there today.
All right, thanks.
All right. Okay. Next item of business, we will review our old business.
We don't have anything.
Well, I have something. So my concern about a clear cut up my concern at the beginning of the meeting that I had. And in reviewing, our documents, so it wasn't Article 1. You were correct, thank
It's
you.
Article 2.
No, it wasn't, it was the master plan review.
Oh, so you got it, I'm confused.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, of
I'm
course.
sorry, my
Yeah,
bad.
so thank you for your patience with me,
Okay.
but I solved it. So it was from the November 2nd meeting, and that's when we agreed to hear it in December. And I think we had a date of the 11th, and we proposed it to this. So, anyways, you don't need to research anything.
Okay.
It's done, and, again, thank you for your patience while I figured it out.
Do you want to move to take the minutes off the table and approve them tonight?
Yes, let's, so, I make such a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it has been motioned and second that we take off the table, the minutes of the November 16, 2023 23 meeting, so we can vote on the approval of the minutes, of the meeting.
All ayes.
Aye.
Now we need a motion.
It take, now, boy, I have a lot of respect for people. Well, they ain't no funny integrity, but I like people of integrity.
And now we have to approve the minutes. So
Okay.
we have a-
Okay, that was just a motion to take them off the table, now you need to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Second. So we have the motion and second, to approve the November 16, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes.
All ayes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Who seconded that?
Kim, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've been confused too about no December 11th, because I've been like, I know we're supposed to be doing something on December. I get dates in my head and go to spinning, so.
So under, general discussion, I have a question for y'all. I was accepted into the Florida Institute of Government at Florida State University, and, I'm pretty excited. It was 436 applicants, they only accepted 30.
Okay, congratulations.
The February 15th meeting is the only meeting that's gonna conflict with my schedule for a school week, because I have to go down to Tampa. So I'm requesting that maybe you could move the meeting to the 13th or the week after on the 22nd. It's up to y'all. If you can't and you wanna keep it here, I will train. The reason why I'm asking tonight is so I have some time for somebody to train on my spot for the 15th. So I need a month,
I'm not available on 15th.
and Charles won't be here on the 15th.
I can do the 22nd.
And I can't do the 22nd.
I'm waiting for my phone to open up.
Yeah, do we have to have a meeting in February?
Only if you have something on the agenda. Your preservation has a standing agenda. So it'll be up to them, when you reconvene as a preservation board, you can decide if you want to skip a meeting.
So, do we have, any, upcoming items for a meeting?
Currently, we're not.
Currently, we don't have anything. I mean, we can aim for the 22nd. Oh, you come on, you can't be here.
Yeah, that's not.
How
It
about,
could be like a Tuesday, it could be the 20th, or
the 21st?
I can't do the 20th,
Okay,
but I could do the 21st.
21st is on a Wednesday?
and again, if there are no items, we could ask the chair if he wants to cancel the meeting.
Okay,
And I'll know before that
before
week.
then, okay, so we
I
just,
should know by the 13th, or even the 6th, if we have nothing.
okay, so we can set the tentative date, and if we don't have anything, we can cancel.
Cancel it.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's the tentative date?
February 21st? Is that okay with everyone?
That's a Wednesday.
Alice, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm open then, so, okay.
I'm good.
I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Of course.
That's very exciting.
Yes,
Is there
yes.
any update on who goes to school?
Did I see a motion for that?
Just that piece.
She needs a
I make a
motion.
motion that we set the tentative date for the next
That's the
planning
other
and
part.
zoning commission meeting for February 21st. And if we have nothing on the agenda, that we will cancel.
So,
Okay, it has been motioned and second that we will reschedule our regular February meeting to Wednesday, February the 21st. All in favor?
Aye.
That's not a good one. We use that one.
Okay.
Aye.
Wednesday, this, February 21st. Okay. So do we have any, general discussion?
I think I've said enough.
Okay, there's nothing, the meeting is adjourned. Okay. All right, let's move on to our Historic Preservation Board meeting. We have the approval of our November 16th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 16th, 2022.
Second.
There's been motion and second. We approve the minutes of the November 16th Historical Preservation Board meeting. All in favor? At this time, will there be any public comments? Oh, he's walking by.
You're a rowdy bunch.
All right, so we will go down, our business items. First item on the agenda is responsibilities.
No comment.
Okay, goals,
No comments.
city codes.
Anything new with city code?
No, well, there's item 13 is land development code. So like we just discussed, that's coming in for landing. We think March, it'll come forward, begin the approval process with the city commission. And our code of ordinances is now online. We'll send that out, link, Municode, like you can with most cities. You go to Municode, look up the code, and you can do searches and
This was
stuff.
a long time coming.
Yeah, it took 2 years to get that done, so.
So you,
We currently put the old land development code up there, and as soon as the new one's adopted, we'll swap them out.
Okay. Any recommendations? Okay. New historical recommendation nominations? Inventory of condemned properties?
Any changes?
No changes.
Pending? Miller School?
Nothing new to report.
Okay.
And the parcel next to it is, they haven't changed the price again, have they?
I heard it went down to $8.99.
Yeah, I saw
That's the
that.
last I heard.
Yeah. And you haven't heard of any activity?
Historical district?
So we're looking at redrawing the historical district. Can you remind us when that will happen?
Well, that's a legislative, so we have to see if the legislature funds the program to what level. And then we'll see where they don't fully fund it, where they got the cutoff. We're in 27, so we just gotta keep watching.
When does that approval funding typically happen in their year?
Well, we don't really know until the governor signs in June.
Jim, okay.
And we'll hear earlier than that, yay, we got it in the budget. But until he signs it,
Oh, sure.
Okay. All right, 10, grant status updated from Mr. Rudd.
nothing new to report.
Okay. 11, architectural and site guidelines.
Charles, on that, I assume after the possible enlargement of the historical district and adding mid-century structures, that the architectural site guidelines would change.
Yeah, we'll have to propose the change in the language and bring that forward. And it reminds me that Dale Walker, our finance director, is no longer with the city, but he and Christina worked on some proposed changes to the preservation ordinance and sent that to the state preservation officer, waiting for comments back. So, And that may be something we could put into that, just put it in the preservation ordinance, and include mid-century modern.
And will we be copied on that proposal?
Yes, yeah, when we get those comments back, distribute that, and, keep you in the loop.
Thank you.
I have a question. On that mid-century architecture, do you have a definition of it? Because some people think we're talking mid-18th century architecture with, you know, railings and gingerbread and all that kind of stuff. But mid-century architecture is 1940 to 1960.
I guess more proper term is a mid-century modern.
Mid-century modern.
And my understanding is that it will bring it up to whatever the cutoff now, perhaps 1972 or 3. Is that right?
That'd be the cutoff.
We could, you know, the mid-century modern includes shed roofs, okay, and flat roofs. And it also includes windows that go from ceiling to floor. I mean, a lot of that needs to be in there because, you know, when you got windows going from ceiling to floor, that's very expensive because on the codes, just like on my home, if I use triple pane glass, I could go below 18 inches, you know, from the window sill to the floor. But if I didn't go below 18 inches, then I can just use double pane glass, you know, and if you're talking about a window that's 4 feet by my ceilings of 9 feet, it's exorbitantly expensive, so,
Oh, yeah, hurricane windows.
yeah.
You're right, yeah.
So there needs to be some kind of definition of what you're talking about when you're talking about mid-century architecture.
Well, my understanding is that this first study will canvass the city and identify the properties that were built during that time period. And then I assume that will set the template, what the inventory is here.
I'd love
What-
to do that.
What are the guidelines that might be?
Okay, because some mid-century architecture actually looks like glorified sheds.
No, I agree, yes, yeah.
It's not very attractive.
So we could define it, when we propose the addition, actually put in a paragraph that in the definition section, what we mean by mid-century modern.
But there is a lot of mid-century modern that's fairly stylish, and it's a lot of it, it's not very stylish.
I heard of a program, by chance last night from a lady in South Florida, but it applies to all of Florida. And it's called, and you may be aware of this, it's called Florida Safe Home Grant. And if you have windows like jalousie windows and so forth that are really not hurricane proof, that the grant will allow to pay up to 2/3 of the cost to replace that, to make it safe for people living in Florida. Well, I've never heard of that. Have you heard of that? They said they used to have it and then they ran out of money, but it has been refunded now so that it's back in place. But we need to get that information and get it to our people. We have a lot of people in this town that somebody helping 2/3 of the cost of the windows or a roof. I'm not sure what it covers, but I didn't have a chance to Google it last night. I think she said it was called Florida Safe Home. And, I know, Veronica, you were talking about people that needed help, you know, maintaining their homes and so forth. If, you know, this might be something that would be.
Yeah, we'll, look it up, and it gets so hard that when you're out there trying to help people and they just don't understand, or some of them understand where it's just a lot when they don't own the property and, some funding you run into, it doesn't matter, you don't have to be the owner, you can, just long as the owner approves of the,
But that might help with those large windows you're talking about.
Well, I just gave that illustration as, you know, that's what mid-century architecture is, it's large windows. Especially in like family rooms and things like that. And whenever you see an architectural rendering of a mid-century home, they always include huge pools because you have to have those large windows to look out on something.
A lot of the homes were like the Frank Lloyd Wright homes had.
Can I make a suggestion that we actually come up with a definition of what we consider mid-century architecture?
I think that's, I think that the timing for that is after the inventory of existing homes that were built within the time frame is established, then we can go forward then, because I really believe that the architecture that exists is probably will be all we need to define.
I don't think we have that many.
Frank, Michael Frank, what's his name? Frank?
I mean, my building.
Michael Frank. He did a survey and he found like 35 houses here in the community that would be considered, he's an architect, that would be considered mid-century architecture.
By architectural style or by the time period built?
No, style, it's not the time period. There's nothing to do with the time period.
Well, this is the time period that they take in consideration first. The homes built before 1973.
Well, I mean, because homes are doing lots
Well,
of
now-
different architectural things.
What is the year cutoff for the historical?
50 years,
It's 50 years.
50
So-
years old,
And when was the last time it was done?
95 or 98, something.
So when you're saying mid-century homes, you're just looking at when it was built?
I use that term, but it's any home built prior to 50 years ago.
Oh, so you're not talking about mid-century architecture?
Well, there's two things, there's contributing structures and then just, because even now, there may be a house that was built in 1910, but whether it's a contributing structure or not, typically, did something historic happen there, or is it someone lived there, was significant, has particular architectural elements that are unique to its style. So I think it's conceivable we could have some houses built in the 1960s, but wouldn't be considered contributing because they're not a good example of mid-century modern, or they're very plain looking. I think that's what would be the difference. I don't think we'll capture everything built. I think there'll be a determination if it's a good architectural style or something that's historical significance occurred in the structure, so it becomes a contributing structure to the district. That's my understanding of what the review will be.
Do you think that's sufficient, Evan, for the first step?
Makes sense. I mean, are you talking about architectural style, or are you talking about some home that was built between two time periods that has some historical value?
Well, both, because it can't be considered, if it's not at least 50 years old. And then they look at, well, is it a great example of that architecture, or did something significant happen there?
Well, let's say that somebody's coming in and wanting to build a home and they get a permit and you're asking about the style of home they're going to build. And they say, oh, I'm gonna build a mid-century modern home. That's,
Then we'll have to define that for them. If you're gonna build in a historic district, our standards currently spell out the styles we want you to comply with. And when we add that one to it, then there would have to be some review. You gotta look at it and go, well, I think what you're proposing is truly not, mid-century modern. We need you to take a look at it. That's my understanding of how that review works. Because right now it doesn't list that. It lists, there's about 5 styles, I think, listed.
So, considering Brad's question, it may be wise for us to start, as he's suggesting, start working on it now.
You could begin to look at definitions. How would you guide someone?
Sure.
They come back to the design and there's no agreement, like that's not, it says at all, like what you need to do. And again, that'll only apply within the historic district. Once you designate either the National Register District or if we had a local district. Because we're not allowed to have design standards in the whole city.
I was just clearing up, so in order to be considered, to fall, part of the historic district, it has to be over 50 years old, at least 50 years old. And so everything that he's saying is what we need to, and that is in that, that's documented, that's
The
what we have
survey,
to
that's what we're
consider
gonna update.
in order to be part of the historic district. So the next thing is, within our historic district, we have 5 styles of homes, is that what you're saying, or different styles of homes?
There's different styles, that just our design standards specify styles to be, considered. But
When you
the-
say design standards, you're talking about design standards in
Like,
historical.
Colonial Revival, Queen Anne, Italian, we don't have those, but I think we have Craftsman, Colonial Revival, I forget what they are, I have to look them up again, but there's about 5,
Vernacular, yeah.
frame vernacular, maybe.
Can you, can those be shared with us?
Yes, I can give you that, I think it's, ordinance 2018 or something, we can send that to you. So, you can also keep in mind, in a historic district, even though a house is located in a historic district, it may not be considered a contributing structure. It may be old, but it may not be considered there'll be a list of contributing structures within the district. And then when our code says if you build, if there's a vacant piece of land, then our design standards say you need to build it within this range of styles, to work within the district. So we don't want what I call a snout house, garage stuck on the front of the house, plopped into a row of contributing structures. That is to protect the integrity of the neighborhood. So they can pick up, one of those styles and build something that would blend nicely within the district. But
So, once the new assessment is completed, one of the results may be that the historical district boundary are expanded, correct?
correct, you would apply the Park Service or amendment I think, to the boundary, so this captures more of the community.
Mhm.
Because we're gonna find that some stuff has been demolished as well, and it may change the shape of the district.
So should we, make a recommendation that we put that on a future, standing agenda? Your recommendation to define, give definition to this new category.
Yeah, but you're talking just about in his, I keep wanting to say historical areas, right? And I kind of thought you were talking about the whole community.
Okay.
And defining, mid-century modern. I'm not a big fan of mid-century modern, that's why. Sometimes it can, if you get a Frank Lloyd Wright house, it's a mid-century.
Exactly, yeah.
Somewhere in that, so.
I think it'd be a good idea when we come back, to bring some definitions, because you'll need to guide someone in the future.
Mhm.
Again, if they want to infill in a historic district, that would be a compatible style.
Great.
Land use and zoning maps,
Nothing new,
land development code.
as I mentioned, almost done,
Okay,
almost done,
okay,
couple more months.
okay, that's almost done. Okay, all right, any general discussions? Okay, not, this meeting is adjourned.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and have a safe New Year.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Merry Christmas, be safe.